What's going on, guys? This your boy John the Liquidator coming back with a major story. So it look like famed NBA trainer Chris Brinkley has broken his silence about Caitlyn Clark and potentially working with her to make a healthy recovery for the 2026 season. Guys, for this one here, we got to go all the way up to Indy. Let's get it. Let's go. Now, one thing about this story that is major, because Chris Brinkley is a phenomenal trainer. Now, some of you guys might not know this. Drew Hanlon is another phenomenal trainer. I actually know Drew. I went to high school with Drew Hanlon.
So listen to this. Chris Brinkley just spoke out, and he wants to help Caitlyn Clark get ready for the 2026 season. Yeah, you heard that right. 2026, not 2025. That's a huge deal. It's not just an injury. It tells us her 2025 season is probably already a wash. And there are whispers about bigger problems with her treatment and what's next for her. This timeline is honestly chilling. It means Clark's comeback isn't happening anytime soon. And for a league that relies on her so much, that's a tough pill to swallow. Brinkley sounds really urgent, which tells you how serious things are. It feels like she desperately needs outside help, beyond what her current team can do. Something's definitely wrong here. And an elite trainer just laid out just how serious it might be.
We'll know it became an Indiana Fever infirmary at some point during the season, earning the Hospital Fever nickname. The injury report read like a novel, and a lot of people wondered, how this could be, how all these various injuries could affect one team. Now, some of it is just bad luck, of course, whenever circumstances like that take place, but there were questions about the rehab process, the way injuries were treated, and that is natural when there is as many of them as there were with the Fever. I mean, you look at the team picture and there's 16 players in it or whatever. You see this, the joking around with crutches.
Brinkley isn't just some random trainer. This guy has worked with legends like LeBron James and Kevin Durant, multiple NBA champions, for real. His reputation is absolutely solid. So for him to be so eager to work with Clark, that's a massive statement. He even pointed out that her past efforts to gain muscle actually contributed to her 2025 injuries. This isn't just bad luck, It's a direct shot at her previous training, which was probably run by the Fever. The message is clear. The very things meant to make her stronger might have actually caused her problems. It just adds to this whole idea of potential mismanagement and questionable decisions that put her health at risk.
In regards to that department, but Chris Brinkley is up there. If we're talking like trainers, we're talking getting players ready. Chris Brinkley worked with LeBron James, Kevin Durant. The list goes on and on and on. I'm talking about multiple NBA champions this young man has been featured with, worked with, and for Caitlyn Clark to potentially be on his list, somebody he's eager to work with, Caitlyn Clark need to quick, fast, swiftly start working with him, because we know there's a lot of things to Caitlyn Clark game that she could work on. And one thing being dealing with the physicality of it all. Now, we seen them telling her to add the muscle. We ultimately know that did not work.
But here's the most shocking part. Brinkley actually confirmed that he and Clark wanted to work together last summer. But the Indiana Fever's protocols basically forced her to train at their facility. It completely blocked her from getting this elite outside help. Can you imagine? You have a top-tier solution right there, available, but your team makes you use their own methods instead, methods that might even be flawed. This isn't just a mistake. It was a deliberate restriction that stopped Clark from getting the personalized care she needed. This forced compliance could be a huge reason why her 2025 season is already looking iffy, and it's a decision that could really impact her whole career.
But it was interesting to see a job posting by the Indiana Fever. This is a legitimate posting. You can see it online. It's on the Teamwork website as far as what the position itself actually is. Indiana Fever Senior Director of Player Health and Performance. The Senior Director of Player Health and Performance will oversee the Health, Medical, and Athletic Performance Department for the Indiana Fever. They're responsible for providing professional athletic training and physical therapy care for Fever players and staff. Now, I have no idea if this is just a run-of-the-mill
The Indiana Fever's 2020.
Now, the 2025 season was just a nightmare for them. They even got nicknamed Hospital Fever, and seriously, their injury report read like a whole book, with so many star players, including Clark, sidelined. This wasn't just bad luck, you know? Legit questions started popping up about their rehab process and how all these injuries were handled. The sheer number of players out on one team had everyone in the league raising their eyebrows. When an entire roster is dealing with similar problems, it goes way past coincidence. It points to some real systemic failures. There was even a team photo where players were joking around with crutches, which just shows you the grim reality of their season-long battle against an unseen enemy, their own health management.
On his list, somebody he's eager to work with, Caitlyn Clark need to quick, fast, swiftly start working with him, because we know there's a lot of things to Caitlyn Clark game that she could work on. And one thing being dealing with the physicality of it all. Now, we seen them telling her to add the muscle. We ultimately know that did not work. I believe the muscle was kind of what contributed to a lot of her injuries for the 2025 season. But if she could somehow work with Chris, he can come up with a system to help her either get out of these tough situations that she be in, especially in the traps, in certain traps, and then turn around and once again adjust, either, you know, shoot off the dribble, something to help.
On top of all that, the Indiana Fever actually posted a job opening for a senior director of player health and performance. This wasn't a quiet little change. It was a public admission that they have a huge problem. Why would a team try to hire someone for such a critical, high-level role right in the middle of all this controversy, unless their current department was a total mess? That job posting, which is real and you can find it online, just screams of a desperate attempt to fix a broken system. It basically confirms, without saying it directly, that their current health and performance operations just weren't cutting it, leaving players open to constant or badly managed injuries.
The mill job posting that's already been filled by somebody. I don't know how the hierarchy works behind the scenes, but I do know that it was amusing to see after that litany of Fever injuries this season. And you have to hope, no matter who is, you know, working on the Fever players, that it's not something that repeats into next season. I mean, you even had Kelsey Mitchell going down at the very end of the year when she had nothing left. I mean, just absolutely nothing left. This is what she said to Sue Bird about that specific ordeal in the playoffs against Vegas.
And negative blood flow.
And get this, the job description for this new role is super thorough. It covers everything from overseeing all health and medical departments to figuring out clinical treatment and rehab strategies. It even mentions coordinating nutrition and scheduling sports medicine stuff. So this isn't just about filling a spot. This is a total restructuring, a quiet way of admitting that the team's entire approach to player care was fundamentally broken. This kind of massive overhaul tells you just how deep the problems run. It suggests there was a serious lack of proper medical and performance oversight, and that directly impacted how well their star athletes were doing.
Let's get to the locker room part. With Axe, she said, I think Caitlyn Clark, next year, these are Fever shirt. She is restricted. Okay, here we go. But will Lexi Hall be wearing the Indiana Fever shirt? She's a restricted free agent this offseason for the very first time. She said, I'm a restricted free agent. So I think that changes things a little bit. I've loved my years here in Indiana. Obviously, without an uncertainty, you don't know what's to come. But I built a life here. I love this franchise. I love the people, the fans. So we'll see what comes if judged by the atmosphere, right?
And then there's Kelsey Mitchell's horrific playoff injury against Vegas. Her story is a chilling, first-hand look at the Fever's medical crisis. She described losing blood flow, her body just locking up, feeling totally numb, unable to move her feet. She said it was an out-of-body experience. This wasn't some little tweak, you know? It was a terrifying, paralyzing moment right there on the court, where she honestly feared the absolute worst. Her description of panicking, looking at her teammates, and just breaking down emotionally paints such a vivid picture of extreme physical distress and mental anguish. It was her body just giving out. This wasn't just a physical breakdown, it was pretty much a catastrophic systemic failure.
She had nothing left. I mean, just absolutely nothing left. This is what she said to Sue Bird about that specific ordeal in the playoffs against Vegas.
And negative blood flow. I didn't get any blood flow to my muscles, so my body just locked too. Like I told the ref, I'm like, just keep, like something's happening, like stop the game. Like I felt like I was going through an out-of-body experience. Like I felt numb, I felt like I couldn't move my feet. And then I began to panic here because I'm like, wow, my feet's not moving. And then I looked up at AB and I looked up at Lexi, and, you know, we had gone through so many wars together that, you know, we just start all like...
Mitchell even admitted she felt like she was paralyzed during the whole thing, a primal fear that she might not ever recover. And even though she's such a fierce competitor, she just couldn't finish that game. This personal story of total physical collapse and mental torment really shows you the deep impact these injuries have, not just on an athlete's body, but on their mind too. Her feeling like she wasn't ready for the moment, even though her body was the one betraying her, just shows the immense pressure and emotional toll these medical issues were taking. It really makes you question the support system that's supposed to prevent these kinds of terrifying episodes from happening.
Man, and that's the biggest talk of the hour, man. I'm gonna play a little bit of the video I did yesterday speaking about Adam Silver and this thing getting real, man. Get down in the comment section. Let me know y'all thoughts about this. Like always, man, shake the haters off. I'm out of here. Peace out. This is serious. This is very, very, very serious. The reason this is serious, not only just for the NBA, but for the WNBA as well. We know the WNBA is also being pretty much ran for the most part.
So the big question still hangs in the air. How could one team go through such a relentless string of injuries, ending with a star like Mitchell collapsing in the playoffs? Even looking back, it's hard to wrap your head around one roster battling such extreme physical setbacks. Whether the previous management was good or bad, the results are undeniable. All these breakdowns, adding up, just scream that there's a much deeper problem within the organization's whole approach to player health. It created a ripple effect that totally messed up team performance and put an unbearable weight on every athlete, pretty much ruining any hope for a healthy
my feet. And then I began to panic here because I'm like, wow, my feet's not moving. And then I looked up at AB and I looked up at Lexi, and, you know, we had gone through so many wars together that, you know, we just start all like being emotional. Like it was just like, oh my God, my feet's not moving. Like I just kind of felt crazy. Like I felt like, and then the end of it was the cramping and all that. But I just felt like I went on an out of body experience for like 7 seconds. I felt like my mind and my entire muscles on my body had left me. Like it was weird. It was crazy.
How scared were you? Like what was going through your mind when things started to lock up? I saw some quotes saying you couldn't really...
And listen, the WNBA isn't some isolated league. It's actually super connected to the NBA. Adam Silver, for example, played a huge part in their massive $2 billion media deal. Plus, a lot of NBA owners also own WNBA teams, which really blurs the lines of who's watching whom and who's accountable. This whole interconnectedness means that any big problems in the WNBA, especially with player health and morale, could have huge ripple effects. It could even be a sign of bigger issues within professional basketball as a whole. The money involved is enormous, and these institutional structures are so intertwined that a crisis in one league could easily spill over and impact the other.
This whole situation with this illegal gambling thing with Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and many other things has definitely took the sports world by storm. Me personally, I feel like this is going to be, if all of this information that has been released by the government is true, this is going to be the biggest sports scandal in the world ever. We're talking x-ray tables, see-through glasses, contacts, like it's the whole works, bruh. Players faking injuries. That's just a little bit. Now, this is where I feel like it's going to take place in the W. We know.
And then there's this whole looming legal gambling scandal that's taking over the NBA, involving both players and staff. We're talking allegations about x-ray tables and see-through glasses. Some people are calling this potentially the biggest sports scandal. This just adds another layer of really dark complexity to everything. That kind of widespread corruption can ripple into every single corner of sports, including player well-being. When the integrity of the game is compromised at such a basic level, it just creates an environment where other types of exploitation or neglect can thrive.
That actually makes this whole sabotage narrative around Clark seem even more plausible, right?
Oh, I mean, that had to have been so scary.
Yeah, I felt like I felt the worst of the worst is that I was paralyzed. I was like, wow, is this really how it's going to end? You know, because we competitors and we was just in a moment, and, you know, you love basketball, and like, you know, the way the game was going, the way the series is going, the way, you know, the flow of everything at that time, I was just like, the least I thought I was going to do was finish the game. And I felt like, you know, a little piece of like, dang, like, you know, was I not ready for the moment? Is that why it didn't happen? You know, I just had so many emotions, and I felt like, you know, like I didn't finish, but my team did. And I was just grateful that
Now, this whole gambling controversy could actually link directly to Caitlyn Clark's situation. Months ago, the Wall Street Journal published an article claiming her civil rights were violated, that she was being targeted, and honestly, this feels like the first domino falling in that direction. Could the way Clark was targeted, the constant scrutiny, the relentless physicality, and then her injuries, could all of that be connected to some bigger, more sinister scheme? If that speculative connection is true, it would turn what seem like isolated incidents into a full-blown conspiracy. It would make her injuries not just bad luck, but calculated moves designed to control game outcomes.
Information that has been released by the government is true. This is going to be the biggest sports scandal in the world ever. We're talking x-ray tables, see-through glasses, contacts, like it's the whole works, bruh. Players faking injuries. That's just a little bit. Now, this is where I feel like it's going to take place in the W. We know the Wall Street Journal released an article months ago about Caitlyn Clark civil rights being violated, about them kind of targeting her, and people should be held accountable. Me personally, I feel like this is the first domino.
And look, the speaker here is adamant. Caitlyn Clark is America's sweetheart, literally comparing her to Taylor Swift. That immediately elevates her status to this untouchable icon in the public eye. So any perceived injustice or deliberate harm against her would cause an unprecedented public backlash. This huge emotional investment in Clark makes all these allegations of targeting and sabotage so much more explosive, you know? If this beloved figure is truly being undermined by her own team, or even the league itself, the outrage will be absolutely massive. It would turn a sports story into a huge cultural phenomenon of betrayal and corporate wrongdoing.
After everything else that she would go down to in the midst of all of that, you know, a series of injuries that you can't imagine one team having to go through, having to manage. You know, so whoever was managing it had a tough job, whether they were doing a great job or a horrible job. You got to hope that Fever core is healthy next year. Kelsey Mitchell, by the way, in that interview indicated essentially that she's going to be back. At least that was the read on it, and talked about, you know, playing alongside Caitlyn Clark and Aaliyah Boston.
Yeah, I mean, you already talked a little bit about just like Caitlyn, how she was coming in also.
And get this, even Lexi Hall, who's a restricted free agent for the Fever, talked about feeling uncertain about her future, even though she loves Indiana. She's built a whole life there, but she admitted, "You don't know what's to come." That feeling of instability, coming from a player who genuinely loves the franchise and its fans, really tells you a lot about the administrative mess happening there. This administrative fever she hinted at suggests the internal environment is so volatile that even loyal players are questioning if they should stay long-term. It creates a really unsettling vibe, showing that the problems go way beyond just player injuries and hit the core of overall team stability and morale.
Rights been violated, about them kind of targeting her, and people should be held accountable. Me personally, I feel like this is the first domino headed towards that direction, because I said it once and I said it again, Caitlyn Clark is America's sweetheart. She's like Taylor Swift, bro.
And the speaker actually searched for details about the locker room part, calling it the biggest talk of the hour, but couldn't find anything in the article. That's a super tantalizing hint, right? It suggests there are some unspoken, maybe even scandalous, internal conflicts bubbling beneath the surface, details that are just too explosive for public reporting. The fact that it was omitted is powerful. It implies that the problems within the Fever go way beyond just medical care and touch on interpersonal dynamics and how the team works together. If the locker room environment is as turbulent as they hinted, that just adds another layer to this whole sabotage narrative, affecting both mental and physical performance.
We don't have time to dwell, and I think I started to have a better shot efficiency because I started not thinking about it if I missed, because the way Caitlyn was playing and the way AB wanted to play, like, let's go. And that had always been how I played. And I'm like, I felt like a kid in the candy store. I'm like, ooh, I'm back with people that want to play fast. And it just, the pace alone was just like our thing. And then from there, our individual games, obviously, me being able to draw, being able to cut, and Caitlyn see me, her ability to be able to pass, AB ability to be able to pass, which is underrated and people don't talk about. We just had different compliments of each other that worked out.
Let's circle back to Chris Brinkley's insights, because he explicitly said that Clark's previous attempt to add muscle was probably a huge reason for her 2025 injury problems. This isn't just a guess, okay? This is an informed opinion from an elite professional. This whole strategy, likely guided by the team, basically sabotaged her physical well-being. It really highlights a critical mistake in her development, turning what was supposed to be strength into vulnerability. The irony is pretty stark. Efforts meant to make her stronger ultimately broke her down. It's impossible to ignore the potential negligence or flawed methods that undermined her season before it even started. Now, Brinkley's specific offer to Clark is a real lifeline. He can create a system to help her handle physicality, adjust her shooting off the dribble, and navigate tough game situations. This kind of individualized, expert approach is exactly what she seemingly needed, and what she probably wouldn't get from her current team, given their forced internal training. His proposed system aims to fix the very issues that led to her injuries, offering a clear path to recovery and long-term success. It really shows the huge difference between generic team conditioning and truly tailored elite guidance. And we have an elite trainer explicitly confirming the team blocked his access to Clark, potentially compromising her 2025 season. When you connect all these dots, the whispers of targeting, the broader league scandals, a super disturbing picture starts to emerge. Is this just incompetence, or is there something more insidious going on? Caitlyn Clark's immediate future hangs in the balance, a casualty of circumstances that demand real answers. The question isn't just if her comeback was sabotaged, but who actually benefits from her being sidelined.